Good evening. Good evening. What's going on, everybody? Good to see all of you. I am excited. It's Mindset Monday on a Tuesday. Hope everyone had a glorious holiday weekend. Hope everyone had a great time getting out. Hopefully not doing too much labor out on Labor Day and had fun with the family. Erica Jordan, I saw you out having fun. Pia, what's going on? Good to see everybody as always. Jump in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. I see Nebraska's in the house. Good to see you, Seattle area. We got Al from the Bend, got Cleveland, Tennessee. Make sure you guys take a couple minutes, send it out to everyone. Let them know Mindset Monday is going on, and I have got notes on notes on notes on notes for the first chapter of this book, Atomic Habits with James Clear. By far, probably one of my favorite reads we have done so far. Oh my gosh, Arkansas in the house. Good to see you, Julie. Nashville, good to see you. Good to see you. Canada's in the house. This book has been amazing. Watching from Arizona. What's going on, Lori? Hope you're having a great vacay. But yeah, wow, the notes. I mean, goodness gracious. Louisiana's in the house. Of course they are. But yeah, I am so excited to dive into this book because I think, and I've got some visual aids. We're stepping up our game here on Mindset Monday. So get everyone on here. We're going to get started in just about a minute, but make sure you let everyone know. They might have thought Mindset Monday was last night, and it is exactly, it's actually going on tonight. Do you have a bat? Do I have a bat? Do I have a bat? I don't know. Do I have a bat? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by a bat. A baseball bat? Yeah, I have a baseball bat. I've got a baseball bat. It's a wiffle ball bat my kids play with. And so, yeah, I got a wiffle ball bat. Oh, man. Oh, oh, just wait. You just wait. Oh, you're making a pun on the book. I see you. I see you. I see you. Puerto Rico. Look at you, Brenda. I was so confused for a minute. I was like, a baseball bat. Yep. See, Brenda's checking in. She's reading the book. Brian Heflin's in the house. Don't be sorry. I love it. That was hilarious. It just took me a minute to get caught on. The one thing I don't like about the webinar, we're going to look to eventually switch this over to a meeting, is I want to be able to see everyone's faces. I want to be able to have that fun engagement with you. I think we'd have a lot more fun if we could see everybody, be able to potentially pull some people off mute and have some people chat throughout the time while we're on here. But let's get started. Everybody, Atomic Habits with James by James Clear. I have been just a huge fan of this book. I'll share my screen in just a second, but put a heart in the comment if you have been reading Atomic Habits and have been loving it. You liked my reel today? Yep, we're having fun with the reels, that's for sure. Put a 5 in the comments if you have not been reading it, but are just checking in to get some notes. You might read it, but you're just tuning in to get some notes on this incredible book. I love it. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate you showing up. This is hopefully going to be like the Spark Notes. If you don't have time to read or don't have time to listen, you can come check in here and hopefully get a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of mindset, and be able to take your game, step it up just a little bit. But chapter 1, and even before chapter 1, James gets into, this concept of 1% changes. Oh, Candy, what's going on, sister? You're using an old link, or you're using the old link, so you're hopping on with me. There you go. It's okay. It's okay. Hop on from your phone if you can. Look, we're having an Al. Al, it wasn't you this week. Congratulations. It wasn't Al this week. That's awesome. If you guys have been on, you get the joke. But he talked a lot about 1% changes. And a lot of the time, I think that as we get into this book, Atomic Habits, what is this book all about? What is this book all about? It's all about making these little changes in our habits, not only the changes in our habits, but the identification of our habits themselves and the different kinds of habits we have and how we work to adapt and change them. He talks a lot about 1% changes, and I think it's so important that we really start this out by identifying, because throughout this month, we're going to talk a lot about identifying our habits. I'm going to be identifying mine, you're going to be identifying yours, And I think it's really important. I'm going to throw this up here. Boom. I'm going to bring this down here. I'm going to go like this. Boom. 1% better every day. I thought this was a really great representation, a really wonderful. Oh, Rhonda's hopping on from an old link. Look, we got 1 million people. How did all these people get this link? How did all these people get this link? It's all good, Rhonda. You just stay muted. But 1% better every day. And he really gives this representation that I think is really important because a lot of people don't understand. I mean, it's like he gives a lot of analogies, right? He gives the analogy of, you know, if you go work out for 3 days, you're not going to get skinny all of a sudden. If you, if you start saving for a few days in a row, you're not all of a sudden rich. And so you don't really see these differences. The same thing goes with our bad habits. And he gives this great representation of decline, being 1% worse every day for 1 year, as opposed to being 1% better every day for a year. I want you to take a look at that. And it's very slow, the decline. You see that decline, it's that 1% over time. But on the flip of the coin, you see the 1% better every day for a year, you see a 37, almost 38% improvement in your overall results over the course of a year. Now, these are big things that it's really time that we kind of stop and take advantage, take account of, because this is the plateau of latent potential. He talks about this in the book, and the plateau of latent potential is basically, it's like he explains it right here. It's a lot of this valley of disappointment. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I can just say, Rhonda, I'm going to do this 1 second for you, dear. I'm so sorry. I wish I could. Can I just hide you? It's all right. You just stay there with me, and I'm going to go like this. All right. So the goal really is the plateau of latent potential is all about basically identifying that one bell curve, and identifying where you're at on this curve. A lot of people think that plateau should have that nice steady curve, that constantly going upwards, and what it is, it's that bell curve. And so a lot of times we have that valley of disappointment. And this is where we wait. We're kind of, a lot of people give up in this valley of disappointment. This is where a lot of people call it quits. A lot of people call it quits in this plateau of latent potential. He talks a lot about bamboo, cancer. He talks about these lagging measures. Bamboo. How many of you guys know the story of bamboo? Bamboo takes 5 years. 5 years growing its infrastructure, growing its root system before it even pokes up out of the dirt. Then within 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet in the air. I want you to think about that. 5 years before it ever pokes out of the dirt. And within 6 weeks, it's 90 feet up in the air. The same thing with, on the flip side, the sad side, cancer. Cancer will remain undetected in the body until it gets to a point where it will just shut you down in months. It will grow and grow and grow 80%. It will grow up to 80% before it's ever detected. Talks a lot about lagging measures. What are these lagging measures, like weight and money? And I'm going to talk about these here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to be jumping back and forth a lot between this PowerPoint. There's one slide that I really loved, and it was this, the 3 layers of behavioral change. And this one really hit me because he really talks about the 3 layers of behavioral change: outcomes, processes, as an identity. Changing your outcome means you're focusing on, the basics. You're focusing on losing weight. You're focusing on winning the championship. You're focusing on hitting the rank. You're focusing on changing an outcome, right? That's the outer layer. If you're thinking of like an onion, he talks about changing the outcomes. Then he talks about the process is the next layer in. When you focus on changing the process, which is where most of your habits will lie. Most of your habits lie in the changing of processes. That is your routine at the gym, your daily habits, your systems, the thing that you get into. And then your identity. Your identity are your worldviews, your beliefs, your judgments about yourself or others. So these are the 3 layers of behavioral change. Now, the one thing he talks about is if you're going to make any kind of habitual change, it's going to be outcome-based habits or identity-based habits. So I want you to think about this. When you look to make a change in your life, let's say you want to lose weight. That's an outcome-based habit. You focus, you say, okay, I want to lose weight. So it starts with the outcome. You go to the process. What do I need to do? I need to go to the gym. And it goes to your identity, where it works into being a part of your identity. It becomes into a part of how you judge yourself and look at yourself. Or there is identity-based change. Identity-based change starts at the core. It starts with a worldview. It starts with a fundamental change and moves out from, I am believing something different. I'm going to create a process around that. And because of that, it's going to deliver an outcome. I thought this was really fascinating when you talk about the different kinds of habits and different kinds of change. I thought it was fascinating in the thought process or the concept of your business. Think about building your business. Think about, are you focusing on hitting the rank? Or are you focusing on becoming the person that deserves to be at that rank? We're going to get into that in just a little bit. He talks about the plateau of latent potential is like complaining about, if you find yourself complaining about not achieving success after working hard, it's like complaining about an ice cube not melting when you've heated it from 26 to 31 degrees. What an amazing analogy. I love that. The ice cube will only start to melt when it gets to 32 degrees. He gives this amazing analogy. Let's say you sit down in a room and you're sitting in the room and you have an ice cube sitting on a table and it's cold in that room. Let's say the room's 26 degrees. And you start to warm up that room 1 degree at a time from 26 to 27 degrees. Ice cube sits there, nothing changes. 27 degrees to 28 degrees. Ice cube sits there, nothing changes. 28 to 29, 29 to 30, nothing changes. 30 to 31, nothing changes. But when it gets to 32 degrees, what happens? The ice cube starts to melt. This was another amazing little piece that he talked about. There's a whole chapter on this that I think is amazing, but he says, forget about goals for a minute and focus on systems. He says, goals are good for direction, but systems are best for making progress. Goals are good for direction, but systems are best for making progress. Sometimes I think we get caught too much in our goals of where we're going, and we forget about the process and the system in which we're using to get there. This is probably my favorite quote before he even gets into chapter 1. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you will fall to the level of your systems. I love what he says, decide who you want to be And then ask yourself, who is that type of person? I mean, he talks about, six-pack abs and less anxiety and doubling your salary. Let's talk about it from our business building perspective. How many of you out there, it's your goal to become an ambassador or above in this company? Put a 5 in the comments. If it's your goal to become an ambassador above in this company, put a 5 in the comments. Now, instead of focusing on the goal of becoming ambassador, what if instead you asked yourself, what does an ambassador, if I had to ask myself, what habits an ambassador would need to have in order to be there? Who is the type of person that hits ambassador? I want you to look at your daily habits and ask yourself, am I doing the behaviors that warrant me going to the place that I'm going? Are my systems that I have put in place sending me in the right direction of my goals? I think that's very important. Again, decide who you want to be and then ask yourself, what do I need to attain? What habits do I need to attain? And get deep. Talking about ambassador, what habits? I mean, what do you guys, how many excuses does an ambassador have when it comes to building their business? When things get a little bit wonky or things get a little bit messed up, is the ambassador, is that the first one that gets into the chat and complains? Or is the ambassador the rock in the river? Again, we have to ask ourselves some very serious questions as we look to grow into what it is that we are wanting to be, and ask ourselves, are we exhibiting the habits of the person? Because it's not like I'll grow the habits, I'll become that person when I get there. No, that's not how it works. You don't get to become the person after down. That's not how it works. You have to become the person now if you ever want to see those goals come to fruition. You have to adopt the habits now, the systems now, so that you can be that ambassador that you dream about being, hitting those goals that you looked at. But again, it all falls back to the system. I thought this was brilliant, so I'm going to share this again. The 4 stages of a habit. If you're taking notes, this is really, really important note-taking time, because this is big in life, but it's very big in your business. The 4 stages of a habit. There is a cue, there is a craving, there is a response, and a reward. A cue triggers your brain to start a behavior that's leading to a reward. The cue is basically looking for a reward. It's basically telling you that it's getting you excited. And the cue is only meaningful if it's interpreted. So again, if he gives the analogy in a casino, if you love to gamble and you walk in a casino and you hear those cards flickering and you hear the slot machines going off, that's a cue for you, and it will lead to a craving. If you never gamble and gambling is nothing that you're interested in, those sounds are just going to be noise to you. They're just going to be background noise. So cues are very important, but cues only matter if they are being interpreted by the person that's taking them on. From there, it goes to a craving. Craving must have a change in state. You must have a change in state. You don't want to, he goes to a craving. You don't want to you don't want to brush your teeth, but you want a clean mouth, right? You have a craving for a clean mouth, and so you brush your teeth. So you have this craving. He talks about Basically, you crave for a change in your state. That leads to a response. A response is where you are going to do that. The habit you perform is going to always and inevitably depend on your ability. So the response, you might want to become president, but that might not be a possibility. You might have a cue and a craving to make $1 million, but the reality is the response, you might not have the skills necessary to get there. So it's going to depend on your ability. And then the reward, all of this leads to the reward. It is going to do it's going to do two things. The reward does two things here, which are really important. The reward is going to satisfy your craving. That's number one. And number two, which is more important, it is going to teach us which actions are worth remembering in the future. Now, this is big, you guys. This is big. A cue is leading to a craving. It's leading to a response, leading to a reward. He says, without the first three, nothing will happen when it comes to a habit. And without the fourth, it'll never happen again. So think about that. He talks about the analogy. You're a cue. Your phone vibrates, a text message from your friend. You have a craving because you want to know what that message is. So your response is to pick up your phone, open your phone. The reward is you get the knowledge of knowing what your friend said. Does that make sense? Is this hitting home? Cue, craving, response, reward. This is where we have to stop for a minute. We have to take serious account. Take notes of your habit. Take notes of your cues. And the one thing that I love that he touches on is he says habits do not restrict freedom, they create it. Habits do not restrict your freedom, they create it. You think taking an hour to sit down and pay your bills is taking away from your freedom, but you know what's more stressful is at the end of the month, you taking hours being stressed out and anxious, wondering about when you're going to pay them and when you're going to do it and when you're going to do all this stuff. Habits give you more time. Yes, Pia. Habits do not restrict your freedom. They are going to create it. So one thing that he talks about is habit stacking. And I love this concept. So this is just the loop of all that, but habit stacking. I want you to start thinking about this in your day because I'm going to give you a lot of how I relate this to business here in a minute. But habit stacking, this is basically stacking one habit onto another. Say, start with your daily routine. When you wake up in the morning, you're going to have a cue. One thing that you need to do here, I need to step back. As we get into this and we start to identify the habits that we want to be creating, we first need to identify our habits because, like he says, to change a habit, it cannot be mindless. And so many of our habits that we do are mindless. You walk into your bedroom and you flick on the light switch. You don't know why you did it. You just did a cue, craving, reward, or response reward in the flick of an eye. Flick. That was quick. That was a blink of an eye, a little flick of a switch. You went through the cue, craving, reward, or response reward, all of them in one. So let's say, starting with your day, take this habit stack and go through your morning routine. You wake up in the morning, you get up, maybe you go to the bathroom. From there, you go and you brush your teeth. What are your cues? You get up. I get up. My cue is I've got to go to the bathroom. It wakes me up in the morning. Craving, I need to go. Your response is you get up and go. The reward is you feel better. After that, it's brushing the teeth. You go through all of those. After that, it's a morning breakfast. After that, it's a coffee. After that, you go through your habits, where they are right now. And it is only after the identification of your habits and the identification of the cues that make those habits what they are, that makes them no longer mindless, and you now have the ability to change them. Does this make sense? It is only once we have taken our habits and we make them no longer mindless that we can change them. And it is the identification that so many of our habits in our daily lives are mindless habits. So many of them. One little tip is he says, say your habits out loud, good, bad, or indifferent. If it's a good habit, it will enforce your want to do it. If it's a bad habit, it'll make you think about it. If you're trying to lose weight and you go to grab a cookie, say out loud, I am about to eat this cookie and I know I shouldn't be eating it because it is not good for me and it is against what I have said I was going to be doing for myself. Say it out loud. I can tell you it's worked for me personally. Just 2 days ago, and see, you still eat it. Who cares? For me, 2 days ago, it worked. 2 days ago, I did not want to work out. I was so tired. It was a weekend. I was not in the mood. I was hanging out with the kids all day. And so I looked in the mirror and I said, I'm not going to work out today. I know I made a commitment to work out, but I just don't feel like it. And after saying that, I said, it's time to go work out. You need to go work out. After saying those words, I couldn't even get through the whole sentence. And I was just like, let's go work out. Sometimes the acknowledgement when we're making a bad decision and the fact that we say it out loud will stop us and make us go, you know what? I caught myself. Say your habits out loud. Work on redesigning your environment. This is huge. This is a whole chapter that is titled, this is one of my favorite chapters, titled Motivation is Overrated. Environment often matters more. Motivation is underrated. Environment often matters more. Your environment is definitely a major culprit in your habits, and especially some of your negative ones, your bad ones that allow you to stay in a state of complacency. Talks about redesigning. Work on redesigning your environment. More cues. What can you do as you are building your business? I think there's a lot of things. I think we get caught in the norm, especially because this is a home-based business. It's a home-based business. Kids come in and, bump in a call, someone bonks their head, someone does something, and, if you get distracted, you get thrown off course. There's a cue for something that has a bigger reward. Think about that. Short-term satisfactions over long-term happiness. There is a cue that hits a lot of you on a daily basis that's going to trigger a short-term reward that is going to supersede what a lot of you know you should be doing for your businesses every day. Little cues. New Netflix show just came out. Kevin Hart just dropped a new movie. So what he talks about is redesigning your environment. How can you redesign your environment? I want you to think about that over this next week as you're reading chapter 2. I want you to think about how you can redesign your environment. He talks about getting out. Sometimes it's getting out of your current environment, because sometimes when you're stuck in your current environment, you get stuck and those habits are too hard to break. I can guarantee if you were sitting for 2 hours and you dedicated 2 hours a day to your business building activity, and you consistently find yourself making excuses or not getting done when you're getting in the scroll hole. I know I should be working, but just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Try removing yourself from your environment and putting yourself somewhere else. A lot of the times what I've found is when I get comfortable in an environment, I put myself into a new environment, you will see a whole new side of excitement come out of me that you haven't seen. If I'm lazy at home, go put me in a Starbucks for 2 hours and you'll see me posture up. I'll be sitting on my laptop, on phone calls, doing all this stuff. And so again, how can you set up more cues that can trigger a reward in your business? How can you set up, maybe it's little Post-it notes. Whose life are you going to change today? Little things all over your house that are just reminding you. Because I promise, the more cues you have in front of you, what he talks about is the more cues that you have in front of you, the more chances you are going to have to act upon them. But I promise you, if you remove all the cues and all the cues are for other habits, you're going to consistently be fighting. So as we wrap up chapter 1, I want to just recap, and I want to talk a little bit about those small 1% changes, those small little 1% changes that you could be making. While they might not seem big, they are big. And it's been huge for me, especially in my transformation I've been going on. I mean, I'm going to be coming up on 60 days in about 15 days here. I'll be coming up on 60 days of working out every single day, being on a very strict and incredibly healthy diet plan. I'm up, over 10 pounds in less than 60 days. I couldn't be happier. But again, I'm focusing on the identity pieces of myself. And I am then taking it to the process. My goal is not to gain weight anymore. That was initially my goal. That's not my goal anymore. My goal is an identity shift that is going to a process that will have a desired outcome. So while building your business, take on the identity of the goals in which you are looking to achieve. And if those goals are rank-based, then wrap your identity around that rank and continually ask yourself, what would an ambassador do? What would a diamond do? What are the habits that I will need to embody in order to become the person that I wish to become? Because I promise you, those habits do not get to come after the goal is hit. They only come in the pursuit of. You have to change those habits in the pursuit of. We talked about the 4 stages of habit, from the cue to the craving to the response to the reward. It's time to identify our cues. It's time to identify our habits in our life, starting with the first thing that you do in the morning. And the identification of those habits makes them no longer meaningless, because they are something that you are not, they're not mindless. It is no longer mindless. And when it is no longer mindless, you now have the ability to adapt and change it. Only in the cognizant awareness of what our habits are do we have the ability to change them. But when they are mindless, there is no room for change. Say your habits out loud. Look to create an environment that is going to foster more cues, that's going to give you a bigger chance at success in your life. And again, as always, know that I appreciate each and every one of you more than you'll ever know. It's my greatest honor to serve you. It's my greatest honor to be with you here every Monday, tonight, Tuesday night. And hopefully you guys got some value out of this. I hope you have a beautiful and abundant rest of your week. As always, make sure you tune in to Mindset, What's Up Weekly, not Mindset Monday, What's Up Weekly tomorrow night, as I am going to have all of the executive team on with me. We've got our chief operating officer, our chief marketing officer, our head of compliance, our head of IT. They're all going to be on telling why they are so excited about convention and the state of this company moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to see you there. Until then, be safe. Blessings. Bye for now.